Today we're going to be talking about how to get clients fast for your consulting business.
'Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
And welcome back to your Consulting Business Podcast. My name's Russell Pearson and this is episode number 6. Now, there's been a lot going on this week, I can tell you that, including us getting a new feline friend in our home. Cauliflower is her name, and she is a tabby cross, a fantastic little girl and a lot of fun. So I have a new cat, which is cool because I now can sit on my throne and with her on my lap and stroke her laughing maniacally as I watch the world burn around me. Because it seems like there is a lot of change going on right now and people are screaming out for help. But it's interesting because when things are changing, there is never been a better time than now for consultants, for people who help people in a transformation space, who do expertise work to help people get things done, because when change is happening, navigating that change is what it's all about. Now, today we're going to be talking about how to get clients fast for your consulting business. And that's been a large part of the work that I've been doing probably for the last 10 years in particular, is how to actually speed up the process of engaging clients. And not just any clients, ideal clients, the clients that you actually want to be working with. Excuse me. So the concept really is, number one, can you really help them? That would make an ideal client, as someone that you can actually get massive results with. Do you love them? Do you actually want to hang out with them? Do you want to spend time with them? Because I can tell you, in the past, there were times, and you may have experienced this yourself, where you've actually settled on certain clients and therefore spent time with people you really didn't want to spend time with because you really didn't love them. Now, that has completely changed in my life, and I hope it will change in yours too, that you will only from now on select an audition and say yes to clients who are amazing. So, number one, can you really help them? Number two, do you love them? And of course, number three, can they afford you? And can they easily afford you would be ideal, because the results that you get people, because you are an expert in what you're doing, because you've got experience in doing what you're doing and getting those results, is very high value in that sort of thing. So, I've talked about it with pricing in the past, 1/10 of value, 1/20th of value, whatever it might be, wherever you feel comfortable. But certainly you should be looking at value-based pricing rather than hourly pricing. So I'll just put that to the side. Go and check out the other podcast about exactly that. But this is about getting clients fast. How do you go about that process? Now, I know that in the past, when I set out to start my own business, the advice I was given, there were two things in particular that really are not ideal, number one. But they actually set you on the wrong path. So I want to sort of correct some wrongs, correct some bad advice, really. Number one was, go out to the people who already know you and tell them what you're doing and that this is the new space that you're going to be working in. Now, I'll talk about why that's a problem in a second, but the second one is work on getting referrals. Now, referrals are lovely, referrals are great, but I'll tell you what, when you've just started or when you're actually looking to purposefully grow, it is very difficult to be waiting for someone to hand you a referral. So I'll put that to the side. Referrals are great on top of what you're doing, as long as you have a proactive process for getting clients when you want to grow. All right, number one, you need that. Number two, let's go back to the concept of just, I think I remember the mortgage broking business, not that I ran, but the mortgage brokers I worked with, were often told to craft a letter, and send it out to their network. So friends, family, sporting clubs, people they know, to let them know that they're now in trade. It's kind of the equivalent of putting your shingle on the door to let people know that you're open for business. Now, what's interesting about that is, from time to time, sure, you'll get some opportunity off the back of it, but usually it won't be the opportunity you want. Friends and family in particular, who know you as one thing already, are sometimes, I'll say sometimes, difficult clients. In other words, they're wanting something cheaper or faster or better or different types of permission that actually doesn't fit into a system that you want to run in the business that you want to run. And so the biggest issue, though, in going to friends, family, is that they know you as one thing before. And there's a saying, and I'm going to bastardize the hell out of it. I'm going to paraphrase it. But the idea is that it's difficult to be a guru in your own land. In other words, the people who already know you see you as one thing. So to actually now be seen as a guide, as a consultant, as an advisor to them, if you're not already positioned as that in their mind, it's very difficult to change that position, which means in actual fact, sometimes it's easier to actually speak to strangers, and work with, identify strangers who have very specific problems and help them take steps forward. Right, so that's going to get to the heart of the way to get clients fast, which is certainly about the problems and what problems they're experiencing, but I'll touch on that in just a minute. So let's step back. Why do we want to have clients fast? Well, really, it comes down to there are times when, I've had clients pass away, that you might be doing everything completely right. They might love working with you. You might love working with them. You're getting these massive results, but then, the client disappears. So a client can disappear for so many different reasons, and often they're not necessarily to do with what you've done. But passing away is certainly one example of that. And there'll be times when you need to replenish your stock of clients or your stable of clients or your list of clients, right? And knowing how to do that when you need to is so not only important, but it gives you such confidence to be able to actually go out into any environment, to go out into any situation and know that you're going to be able to feed yourself. And by feed yourself, I mean be able to bring work in that actually provides income for you, your family, for those people that you have responsibilities around. Right? So being able to do that is such a confidence boost. And having that in your toolbox allows you to really start to have choices and start to have freedom of choice when it comes to auditioning clients. Because that's how I see it. I mean, it's a two-way street, really. The yes, people need to know, like, and trust you, but on the flip side, you need to know, like, and trust them. And it is very much, ideally, a collaboration if you're going to have a business that you really enjoy. So how to get these clients fast becomes very much a case of, all right, number one, who are they, and where are they, right? And so in the past, and I still get this just about every day. When I speak to people and I say, who are your clients? And they go, well, women over the age of 30, right? And it's like a quarter of the entire population, right? And so let's put that to the side. Let's get specific about the people that you want to actually get in front of. You might have a very broad audience. There might be a lot of people that you can help. I would suggest looking at the idea of niching for two reasons. One, it's very easy to find out where people are if you really refine and get specific about who they are. Number two, doing the work with a similar sort of audience becomes so much easier because it is very similar problems and very similar solutions create very similar outcomes. So you can start to be a little bit more predictable rather than experimental. And if you're at a point where you're being experimental with the client, I'll tell you what, you better be upfront about that. Because otherwise it's a little bit of malpractice. Imagine if a doctor was actually being experimental with you without actually telling you about it. So that's one of the reasons to actually start niching is you can become really, really good and predictable around your results. But who and where? So who are they? Where are they? And by where are they, I mean specifically where can you find a list of them? Where can you contact them? Where can you connect with them? Because that's the first step in getting clients fast is how can you connect with people? And your ability to connect with people quickly is a great opportunity. Now, to step back from there, if you've been in consulting for any length of time, and I'm talking about probably even 6 months, right? You'll already have some network of some sort. There'll be connections that you have who are, that you've developed since you've positioned yourself as a consultant or advisor, right? Since you've moved into that position. So there are already some people, might be a very, very small list, who already see you that way. And so if you were to say, where are my clients? Yes, they're external and there are people that we still need to connect with and know, but there are also these people that we've already brought into our network. Now, you may have gone to networking events to actually do that. You might have gone to associations to do that. You might have gone to Facebook or social media to actually do that. There are all these different places, but I'm going to give you some examples of who and where. So let's say if you wanted to speak with accountants, that's one I keep going back to, and I don't know why. It's just maybe because it's A for accountants. It's the first one that's off the top of my head. It's alphabetical. Could be abattoirs, but I'm going to go with accountants because they're more professional services. They're more likely to be a consultant, right? So if I'm going to look for accountants, the fastest way to do that is to go to LinkedIn and just go, bang, there's accountants. But another fast way to do that is to go to Google and go, bang, there's accountants. And you can literally get a list of these people. And then you can connect with them. How would you connect with them? Well, if it's local to you, you might actually ring them up. Now, I'm not saying you need to cold call people, but that's an option. If they're on a social network, you might connect with them. As far as LinkedIn, you might connect. Another thing, you go, where else are accountants? Accountants are in accounting associations. They're in the CPA and the IPA and all these different associations of accountants. All right, well, I can go to those association events and I will find a bunch of accountants. I can go to discussion groups that are all over the place, these discussion forums that accountants have. I can go there too. So think about it in your own world. Who is your who and where are they? And once you know where they are, then it's quite clear on how you can connect with them, because that's the first step. How do you get to know someone? There are a lot of service providers that are pushing advertising. And the reason is because really you don't have to get face-to-face with someone to connect with them. But the problem with not getting face-to-face with someone when you connect with them is you slow down your opportunity. If you do advertising to bring someone in, you then need to take the step to connect with them afterwards so they can still get to know you. They might know the business, but they don't know you yet. Right? And you, especially as the solo consultant, is a large part of the process, and not even a large part. You really need to have a conversation with the person that you're ideally wanting to work with before, number one, you can see, do they have a problem you can even solve? Is now the right time? Right? Do they identify they've got a problem? There are so many steps in this to, through a conversation you can get. And if they're going to have to go through a conversation process anyway, then why not get in a conversation with them really, really fast, right? Getting clients fast is literally that. There are two parts of the pie that have to happen on a daily or weekly basis based off how many clients you want in what shorter time. If you want clients within a month, you need to be doing connections and conversations weekly. If you want to have a client within a week, which is absolutely doable, I've got a challenge that I call the 5-day appointment challenge, which will get you in appointments with clients within 5 days or less, right? If you're interested in that, reach out to me, ask me about it. I might be able to actually get you into that program. It will get you clients in 5 days, because if you want to have a client opportunity weekly, you really need to be doing this daily. All right. So how do you be connecting with people daily? How do you have conversations with people daily? That tends to be about the rhythm that you need to do. So if you need monthly clients, it's weekly activities. If you need weekly clients, it's daily activities. All right. So we connect with these people. We take a step from connection. We go connect, then we qualify. Is this someone who could, even in some fantasy land, use our services? Not that they need them right now, but is it someone that actually could use our services? If it is, then bring them into the fold. Bring them into your network. Bring them into wherever you want to communicate with them. Maybe it's your social network, your community network, whatever it might be. And I would suggest have something to invite them to. It is such a key to be able to easily invite someone who is the right type of person to something, rather than going, I want to sell you my services. Anytime you're trying to push your services, you're going to put yourself into the category of salesperson. And there's nothing wrong with salespeople. I love salespeople. But you're trying to position yourself as advisor. Now, an advisor needs to be great at sales because they need to be able to sell concept ideas and actually sell taking the next step, which is a large part of the work we do as consultants and advisors, right? So you need to be good at it. But at the same time, you don't need to position yourself that way off the bat. Number one, you don't even know if they've actually got a problem you can solve. So why try and sell to them until you know that? So a nice, real easy step is you connect with them, you qualify that they are who you hope that they are. Let's say, for instance, you needed to work with people who had teams, right? You might ask that simple question, how big's your team, right? If they go, we don't have a team, then that disqualifies them, right? It disqualifies them. Maybe they stay in your network, but they don't become a lead of any sort. And defining who is a lead and what is a prospect is an interesting process in itself. I tend to look at leads as being people who've shown interest in what you do, the problems that you solve, and the outcomes that you deliver. A prospect is when you've actually got a specific problem or outcome to talk about. That's how I see it anyway. And so if you can invite them to something, it's great, because it means it's a very easy conversation starter. And it means you don't have to do small talk. You can just go, look, I see that you're this thing, and there's this event for this thing. Would you appreciate an invite? And they might go, no, that's fine. I'm not really interested. That's absolutely fine. Let them go. But many of those people will go, yeah, sure, absolutely. And then you invite them along. And there's reciprocity in inviting something, giving them value before you've actually asked for something. So that's nice in itself. You invite them to something. You get to know them a little bit. Now, you can get to know someone in like a week. Like, you can get to know someone in a day. I've taken people through the process of connecting with them, checking that they are right, inviting them to a group that I've got, like a group or a club or something like that. They've gone through that process, and through the application of that club, I've asked a simple question, which is, would you like to brainstorm a business plan? That's something I do. Right? Now, within yours, what is the one step that you want to take them to? I want to get them into a conversation, just a very 5-7 minute conversation, very quick conversation, to say, is there something that I can even help them with? Because if there's not, I'm not going to try and sell to them, because it burns the future opportunity. If you can bring these people into what I call a barrel, into this space where you can collect them and actually not waste the opportunity, but allow the opportunity to mature, becomes so much better. And I'll share about the barrel on another podcast. I think you may find massive value from that concept that I've been developing over the last 7 years. But you have them in a space, whatever that space is. Now, that person goes, yeah, I'm interested in Brainstorm. Great. All right, well, maybe we could catch up for a quick 10-minute chat sometime over the next week. Boom, you move them to what I call a priority call. And a priority call is just a very quick conversation. Now, it can happen in person. It could happen on Zoom. It could happen on the phone. Any of these things where you're having a quick chat to go, all right, where are you currently now? Where do you want to be? All right, that here to there creates this gap. And if you are the person to help them transform through that gap, if you're the person to help them get from here to there, then there's a potential opportunity. But number 2 is, do they see a problem? Because a lot of people don't believe they've got a problem. They might even be symptom aware, but they don't understand that they're not problem aware yet. They're just having some niggles. And so if you ask them then, is this a priority to solve, even if they talk about the symptom, and it's not a priority. But if you might say something along the line, all right, you want to go from here to there. Excellent. What have you tried? And what have you tried is a great question. What a fantastic question. It enables you to identify, number 1, what have they done before? And it'll tell you whether they've spent money on the problem, whether they've spent time on the problem, what have they done to sort it out? Maybe they don't believe it can be solved. That's a mindset piece in itself. But let's say they've tried all these things, which identifies that it hasn't worked, and it usually will actually tell you what the problem with it not working is. And they'll admit it, they'll say it, they'll vocalize it out loud. And so they identify the problem. Great. Okay. Well, I might have a few ideas on how to fix that, but is this a priority? Is this something you want to fix later or sooner? And if they say, yeah, it's pretty important, sometime in the next 18 months I want to do something about that, that's not a priority. But if they go, yeah, I want to sort this out now, then yeah, it's a priority. All right, well, fantastic. Maybe let's have a conversation, a little longer conversation, where we can see if and how I can even help. All right. Now, all these steps are necessary. A lot of people will try and create efficiencies around this. Well, why would you have 2 calls? Why do you have to speak to someone? Why don't you just you meet them at a network event and just sell to them there and then? Sure, you can, but it's such a small percentage of people who are ready. Number 1, they've got no rapport with you. They're a cold audience. They don't trust you. They're not going to open up, right? They're not going to tell you what's really going on a lot of the time. And those those that do open up on the first meeting and that you've never met before, and they don't know you, often will become the clients that just want to talk at you. And that's your choice, whether you want those or not. But you take them through this if and how conversation, and it's a sales conversation. You identify, number one, make friends with them. I think it's worth making friends with people. The friends I was talking about in the mortgage broking example, where people were sending a letter out to their friends, they're old friends. These are new friends. New friends will actually see you positioned as the advisor. They will see you positioned as the expert because they've actually come to talk to you about a specific problem that you have expertise in. So very different positioning than your friends from school, right? Very different. The friends from back home, old girlfriends and stuff. That's not where we want to be selling, right? We want to be helping people who are out there. There are so many people out there who are ready to go. And actually that makes me think of another thing that I want to touch on before we close out this podcast, which is the authority piece that a lot of people are doing. So a myth I want to bust. Now, you take them to that conversation and you make friends with them, because what's cool about making friends with people is friends tell friends secrets. So they'll tell you what's actually going on if you build a little bit of a friendship with them, and you can do that really quick, right? Very fast to build a friendship. A lot of people say build rapport. And that's true, but a lot of people don't understand really what rapport is. So I just say make friends, because it's just so much easier. Then when you've made friends, you will do a little discovery. You'll ask them what's going on. You'll have some questions that'll flow and enable you to open the conversation to see what's really going on. Now, just a word of advice for those people who like to ask questions, question answer. If you ask a question without acknowledging their response, and you do that a number of times in the row, that's called an interrogation. So my suggestion is be a little human in this process, especially when you're doing any process at the start. I know you go a bit robotic, but let's step past that and say, all right, you ask a question. They give a response. You acknowledge that response. You go, oh, that's really interesting. Can you tell me more about that? And then they go down a further path. So you can ask another question then. And you really want to get to the heart of what is the specific problem and what are the other problems around it? What's it causing them? What's the issues is it causing in their life, in their business, all around them? Who else is it affecting? Who else is a decision maker in the process? What have they tried? What are all the other things? You go a little deeper than you did in the first conversation. And then when you're very clear on it, you can actually say the problem back to them. So, all right, so it sounds like the problem is this, this, and this. Is that right? Yes, it is. Now, if they go, oh, it's not quite right, go back into discovery. Get it finished. Get clear. So then once you've done that, you're sort of halfway point of a sales conversation. I used to say, then you identify a solution to that problem. I don't say that anymore because it is not overly useful. It's how we used to do things in the 90s, and it's not a great suggestion for doing things now. What I would suggest now is you collaborate on how you could solve the problem. You collaborate on the outcome. What is the outcome that they want instead of the problem? Usually it's just the complete flip. It's the opposite of whatever the problem is. But you have them involved in the process. So let's say that, they want to have clients. They want to bring clients in. Okay, are you wanting to get more clients on the phone, or do you want them to come through a website? What are your preferences there? And you start to get their preferences, which is a collaboration. So they're designing with you the answer. And the answer is not, this is how we're going to do it. It's, this is what I want. You're designing the package, the label, the thing that it's going to be. Now, you've got your processes, you've got your frameworks, you've got the things that you do to actually help people get a result. Keep them in your back pocket and bring them out when they're useful. But you don't have to list them out as the 10 things that I do that can help you, because let's imagine that 2 of 10 things is useful to that client. They're going to discount your stuff by about 80%. And let's say that one of the things that you talk about is something they've had a massively bad experience with in the past. Guess what? It's going to poison the entire deal. So stop telling people about all your coolness. It's not about you. It's about them, and identifying what's going to fit into their wants, and what is also obviously going to help them get to where they want to be. So it's a collaboration. You both have a hand in it. You're not just passing it over to them and go, well, you tell me what you want. No. You're advising, you're guiding, you're taking people through a process. And then once you get clear, you go, all right, well, if we did that, do you reckon that's going to get you the outcome? Yes, it is. Okay, now if it's not, go back, do some work, and get to that point where they go, absolutely, let's do this. That's what I want to do. And then they will, the next step is help say yes. then they're going to want to know what the price is. They're going to want to know all these things. The better you are at being able to create the scope, even if it's indicative, but it's very close to the actual price point in this conversation, the better outcome you're going to have. Because if you need to go, oh, well, I've got all your details and I'm now going to go away and I'm going to create a proposal and I'll bring it back, you're not collaborating with them anymore. Right? So you want to collaborate there with them. And all you're doing is just formalizing it if you need to have a proposal, but in most cases you don't. Even with large multinational corporations, you don't always need to be a proposal. It can just be a simple email that confirms what it is that you're going to do, enables a purchase order to be created, right? So there are a number of different steps depending on who you're selling to. This is why I call it help say yes, because there'll be some people where you'll go, right, well, this is the price point, and they'll go, oof, that seems like more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And then you need to do a little objection handling, all right? Objection handling. And we can talk about that more at in another episode. But to give you an example of some objection handling, that's more than I thought. Okay, well, let's put price to the side for a second. If price wasn't an issue, would you be going ahead? And what you'll find is that price is just the easy one to put up front as far as the objection, but often it's not the objection. So that's how they said price. They go, oh, well, actually, it's the amount of time that I think we're going to have to commit to this thing. And often you won't have even told them the time, and they'll go, well, how long do you think it's going to take? And they'll say whatever it is, and then you'll come back with, well, if it took a lot less time than that, if it was like, an hour a week, 2 hours a week, whatever your thing is, and they go, oh, well, that's actually not too bad. That's actually all right. Well, what would you like to do? And often they won't even come back to the price. They'll just go, yeah, let's go ahead. But if it is price, then you can handle it. There are ways to help them pay that price. Sometimes it's about splitting up payments. Sometimes it's about getting finance. Sometimes it's about getting sponsorship. There are so many different ways to get things paid for. Money's not the hard thing. It's actually the will and the decision making to actually get to that place. So I've outlined an entire process there, and you can go back and listen to it. And there's 100 different places where I put this process out there. And obviously we teach it in the Forge Business Program if you're interested in that. But the process has its nuances. But what I wanted to show you is that you can actually connect with someone, and within a day, I've done it before, actually move them to the sales conversation and get a yes, right? And not even just get a yes, but get a yes with a credit card or a purchase order or an invoice created, whatever it might be for your process. You can absolutely do that. Sometimes it can take longer. Absolutely, it can take longer. But if you follow the process, it doesn't need to. Now, on the other side, here's some other bad advice that people are saying to get clients fast, is you need to get out there. You need to be putting stuff on social media. You need to be creating a book. You need to be creating authority. And you need to be doing all these things that take forever, right? Positioning can take a long time. People talk about search engine optimization taking a long time, which is nonsense in itself. But doing all these other marketing activities just so that someone will ring you up or knock on your door is a massive waste of time, because there are doors that you can go to already. There are people who already want what you've got. In fact, pure marketing, the marketing that creates a market, that creates a want or a need, I think is really only the place of large multinationals and governments. If you're trying to do it in your small, medium business, if you're a solo consultant as you're trying to do it, it's going to be such a waste of time and money, and I would suggest, please do not do that. You don't need to do that. In fact, you don't even need to position yourself other than maybe set up a LinkedIn profile. You don't even have to create a website, right? LinkedIn profile will do the job for you, right? You don't even need business cards. You connect with these people. You understand what their problems are. As soon as you actually have qualifying questions that make them believe that you know them, you know their industry, you're in. Like it's incredible. It's like magic. I'll give you an example. I used to work in the commercial building space, and as an advisor, I did a lot of marketing in that space. And I would talk to sales managers of these corporate commercial building suppliers. So that some would supply steel, or some would supply lighting, some would supply other finishes. And in the first 40 seconds of a conversation, I go, by the way, are you doing more specifications or more alternatives? And me asking that question, it's a very inside baseball question. It's a very jargon-filled question, but it's specific to that industry for that sector. And people would say, actually, we were focusing on more specifications, but we're finding just in the short term, we just need to do more alternatives. And they know now that I know their space, that I know their process, that I know their business model, right? And so that's one of the reasons to get really clear on your who. Because once you can start talking their language and not just general language, like I've seen so many people go, I work with business owners. All right, well, what sort of business owners? Because some business owners want projects, some business owners want clients, some want customers, some want gigs, some want bookings. There are so many different versions of the language, and if you're using the wrong language, you're an outsider, right? And that's another reason to start focusing on your who. Now, if you don't want to focus in on your who because you're worried that it's going to hurt your chances of getting more work in the future, just look at a campaign. Just start the process and go, all right, for the next 3 months, I'm going to focus my communication. I'm going to focus my attention. I'm going to focus my connections and my conversations with a niche. I'm going to just focus there. Now, you might have 5 niches, right? That's fine. Just do campaign work. You do these processes, these steps, these little bits of work where you focus for a certain period of time, and then you can move on to the next one. Or you might discover that it's fantastic and that you can build a large business off the back of some of these very specific tight niches. So that's a massive way to get clients fast, is to actually connect with them, qualify, invite them to something, have a chat with them, right? See if there's a priority to do something, and then move them through to an if, how can I help you? Let's see if and how I can even help you conversation, which actually closes to a piece of work, right? And in some cases, it can close to large, like thousands, tens of thousands, and even hundreds of thousands of dollars of work. A lot of people, even at $100,000 worth of work, it is still so much about relationships. And while you might, if it's for a corporation, have to get on their books before you can even apply for it, yes, some of them are going to have tender requirements and the like. That's a different process. You don't have to go through those processes, but if you are just doing tenders, then you can set yourself up for doing tenders too. And you might do 10 tenders and you'll win one, but it's good work, right? And you can just have someone in your business doing that. But we're talking about solo consultants here. So we'll focus another episode on actually how to not do proposals, right? How to avoid ghosting and people going maybe for 6 months. There are so many different steps you can do to avoid all those things. But hopefully you've found this process helpful, because if you can start connecting with the right people, if you start chatting to them, what happens is you trip over work. You actually discover work that you weren't even intending on getting. And by taking people through that process, it actually creates momentum, intentional momentum that actually enables you to grow your business. My name is Russell Pearson. I run the Forge Business Program. If you're interested in talking to me about that, then do. It's for consultants, advisors, specialist business owners who want to engage more clients and actually have a process and a system for growing that. I also have the consultingbusinesspodcast.com website. If you go to consultingbusinesspodcast.com, you will actually see other episodes. But not only that, we've got some resources there you can download. They're absolutely free and they're quite useful. And the Future Proof Business Group over on Facebook is where we've got, currently it's about 1,200 really cool people in there. And we do a bit of networking, we do some events. I usually do some education stuff every single week. And would love you to check that out. But if you're seeing this on YouTube, subscribe to it. You'll get more of these episodes as you go. If you're listening to this on a podcast, subscribe to it where you found it, right? There are so many different places. And if you only know of it as the YouTube one, if you want the audio one, go and look for it on the podcast. Your Consulting Business Podcast will be in most of the podcast platforms. And again, if you're on the podcast, go check it out on YouTube. You can actually see what this lovely face looks like. And I'd love to get to know you a little bit more. If you've got any questions, send them through to me at russellpearson.com. We'll put them in the comments below any videos. Until next time, stay passionate, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Your Consulting Business Podcast. Make sure to click the subscribe button for future updates, and also make sure to go to consultingbusinesspodcast.com breakout.com for goodies made especially for you by yours truly. I will see you on the site.